Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Generation Z podcast. This is episode 49. And in this episode, me and Marcus wanted to discuss how you can start overcoming the fear of committing to something new or just getting started with doing something that's completely outside your comfort zone.
Yeah, so if you enjoyed today's podcast, then please do subscribe or follow us on whatever platform you're listening on. We do also have a YouTube channel as well if you prefer to watch the podcast, and we do have a Instagram page as well. But before we get into today's podcast, we'll just do a little update on us. So we're actually going to be switching things up slightly going forwards, aren't we? So
Yeah,
a little bit of a rebrand soon. I think we've kind of discussed where we want to take the podcast. We think we're better suited to certain demographics, which we'll probably all just go through it in a whole little micro
separate podcast. Yeah, 100%. I think obviously we haven't been churning out the amount of content that we had at the start of the previous lockdown, like when we even started this whole podcast.
Yeah.
And I think that's mainly just because both of us are just more busy now. Like obviously Marcus is coaching. I've just come out of university and I'm just doing my own thing. I'm been pretty devoted to the cut. Like that's the only thing that I've really been thinking about. It takes up a lot of thought process when it's like your top priority. So this podcast has kind of been on the back burner a bit. But as Marcus said, we do want to rebrand and we do want to produce content that is far more focused to like young males, because that is after a year, that's kind of the feedback that we've been getting in it. Like 100%. Most of the people that have been like saying like, oh yeah, we like your podcast sort of thing, it's been like our mates, young males, that sort of stuff. So I think that's the direction we're going to go.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, as you said, like we haven't been fully on it recently, but at the same time, like we do have plans for it. We do want to take it somewhere, and we do these literally for fun. Like obviously we don't make any income from it. It does take a lot of time to produce. We literally do it for fun. But we're definitely going to start getting into things now. We both finished uni, can actually plan and have a routine rather than just doing things off on a whim.
Yeah.
And then
and it should be more interesting as well because we're going to be doing more stuff. Like today is the 18th of July. And tomorrow is quote unquote Freedom Day.
Yeah, hopefully
we get unleashed into the wild, so we'll have a lot more life updates, a lot more stories to be able to tell you guys about, and hopefully you enjoy that.
Exactly. Already got a festival next weekend as well.
Great. First festival of
we're back.
Like literally first. I think that's what they said. It's the first festival in the UK since lockdown.
Yeah, because they won't be doing them during the week.
No.
So, but in other big news, it's the big man's birthday today. Happy birthday,
it is. Mate. Thank you very much.
Going to be getting on it this afternoon.
Yeah, big 21.
Still, are you going to be committing to the diet today? Get your protein in through the barbecue.
Well, yeah, it's a refeed day, so I'll be refeeding. I'll be refeeding on beers.
There we go. There we go. Exactly. But we'll jump into it then. You can get started if you want, mate.
Yeah. So I think this podcast today is all about getting over the fear of getting started with something.
Yeah.
And even if you think about it on a daily basis, I think the hardest part of starting every day is just getting out of bed. Like there's a lot of people that can, they've got an alarm which basically tells them to start your day, but there's always an excuse. You're comfortable in your bed. You don't want to get out. You're in your comfort zone. But I think that sort of phrase and that sort of metaphor can be used for basically starting absolutely anything, like a goal or a task. The hardest thing is getting started and actually making that commitment to trying to go for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, literally. I think with anything, it literally is like the hardest part is definitely getting started because it's all new. But in terms of like overcoming, like how do I overcome this fear of getting started? So from both of our personal experiences, whether it's like doing the podcast, me trying to start coaching, or going to the gym for the first time. Like, I wish there was like some secret or some way around it that you overcome the fear.
No one's told you anything. No.
Yeah, the only way is literally just to do it. And I know you're thinking, oh, well, that's a shit tip, but like, it literally is. So, like, it's the same thing with self-belief. Like, if you Google, oh, how do I get self-belief or self-confidence to do something? Yeah, you can try do like all these weird kind of techniques, affirmations or something like that. But it comes from experience.
100%.
So, like doing the podcast, for example, when we first started, it felt so weird. Even like listening back to our voices doing it, I was like, that is horrible. I don't think I can put that out.
Even if you want to go back and listen to one of our first podcasts.
No, please do not.
And then listen to what we're like now. I think that is the truest teller of what confidence does and what experience especially does, what that does for you, because I think one of the most important assets when you want to start anything is self-confidence and self-belief, because if you come from a place where it's like you think that you're destined to fail before you even tried, you literally just never ever start, and you literally just stay in the same spot. And then if you're not ever trying, then you're not becoming any more confident, because you're just not getting any sort of experience, and you're literally you just go down into a downward spiral.
I think everybody's got it backwards. I think everybody thinks, oh, I need to be confident so I can start, whereas it's actually, no, you need to start in order to be confident with something.
Even if it's a success or a failure. I don't know why, but the brain will just find a way
to just make you comfortable,
to just make you go for it again, because that's the thing, like, regardless of the outcome of the experience, it is experience. Like, you could have, like, for example, like an MMA fighter could have like 5 losses in his first professional career. He could have like 5 losses. He would be way more confident in himself in wanting to take up a next fight than someone that has gotten 0 experience and got 0 losses, wins or draws on the board. Like, because he knows that he's rationalized it, and he knows, like, right, this is the best that can happen, I can win. And he's comfortable with failure, and he knows that, right, the negatives aren't actually that bad. Like, I lose, that's it. That's one loss under my record. Like, let's go again, sort of thing.
And as you were kind of saying there, like how your brain always wants you to just be comfortable. Like, the more time you spend thinking about something, contemplate, oh, should I do it, should I not, the longer you leave it, the more likely you are to find an excuse, because you'll just sit there, instead of just analysing it for what it actually is, you'll way over analyse it, and then you think, oh, okay, I'll do it next week, and then it just never gets round to it, does it?
Just delays it, doesn't it?
Yeah. I think even like me, like this morning, I was like, oh, I've got steps to do, I've got a step goal to hit. Oh, I can't really be bothered right now, so I'll do it in the afternoon. And I thought, I know when it gets to the afternoon, I'm going to be like, oh, I wish I did these earlier. So you just, I know it's a very small thing compared to people.
And then how did you feel afterwards when you did it?
I feel great, man.
You were just like
8.5k steps this morning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Motion creates emotion.
There we go. And another important thing as well is something called habituation. So it's basically just you have less of a response to repeated stimulus. It's the same kind of things like what we talked about earlier, self-confidence, self-belief. The more you do something, the more comfortable you are doing it. So first podcast, horrible. Second one, horrible. Third one, horrible.
Yeah.
Fourth one, not as bad. Fifth one, not as bad. By the time you get to like 12, it's like, okay, yeah, these are all right. By the time we do like the 25th one,
yeah,
we're actually all right at these. And now now it's
it's very easy to do now. And also, you talking about your step count, I can kind of relate to that in terms of like doing cardio at the gym during the cut. Like, obviously you set me the goal of doing 250 calories like for this past week every training session.
Yeah.
And like,
It's different.
before you do something like that, you do dread it. Like,
Yeah.
you do find you just look at the gym door and you just go, oh, I could just leave right now. He wouldn't know. Like, but like it's just, I think it's just something that you have to start. Like,
it's literally like once you get on the treadmill, it's fine.
Or
it's just
like, well, yeah, I've been getting on the Stepmaster, and I barely ever go on the Stepmaster. I don't think I've done that as a form of cardio for like since I've been at the gym.
Really?
I hated it. It looked like hell.
Yeah,
but like it is. But after 15 minutes of doing it constantly, even for that one session, it's just that one step in front of the other. It's just that constant ticking, and like, you do have doubts in you. You could just go, oh, this is too much, like, I'm hurting too much, let's stop. But like, the satisfaction that you get after is just like, yeah, that was worth it. So
yeah,
and if you keep doing that, you keep having experiences where afterwards you say, oh, I'm glad I did that, that was worth it. Like, you won't have much sort of animosity or whatever to kind of do it, you know what I mean? It's just like, you're more inclined to do it because you know that it doesn't really affect you that much.
yeah 100%. And another important thing now I'd say is like perspective as well. So I mean, it seems so basic, it's so true. Even if we just take your simple example there of cardio, okay, what's the good outcome of it? Okay, well, I'm burning calories, I'm going to lose fat, I'm going to get close to my goal. What's the negatives of it? If I don't do it, I'm not in a deficit, I'm going to remain the same, I'm going to be annoyed tomorrow.
Yeah.
You can literally do that with anything, starting a podcast. Good outcomes of it, we become the top self-development fitness podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Negatives, people don't listen to it, we just stop doing it after a bit.
Yeah. Or we just keep doing it because we enjoy it.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, I think it is really important to weigh up the positives and negatives, and you will realize that the negatives that you have thought about are very minimal, and they're very like far-fetched. They're not like,
oh yeah, 100%.
they're not like
Yeah,
death situations where like you're putting your life at stake. Like, like if you want to go like speak or go talk to someone that you've never approached before, like, some people get paralyzed.
like your
that.
mind always puts the worst possible situation in your mind,
And it's just like, and then you rationalize it and you put it into perspective and you just go, I'm interacting with a human being. It's like,
it's literally, it's never, your mind never gives you a realistic negative. Like, just as you said, so you're approaching someone, it'd be like, oh, she's gonna laugh at me, all her friends are gonna laugh at me, my friends are gonna disabandon me for getting laughed at. I'm gonna have no friends.
I'm never gonna get married.
Where's this come from?
Yeah, exactly. Your mind just tricks you into just not doing anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely just got to take a step back and look at it like rationally.
Yeah, but there's two things to like getting started. So obviously you got like getting started with just a new habit or a new routine or something like that, and then overcoming the fear of getting started in terms of doing something like publicly, like the podcast, or just doing something on social media. Like I do coaching as well, something like that. So how do you overcome the fear of doing that? So if we take the podcast, for example, right? Even though we're both into like self-development fitness, actually sitting down, buying equipment and recording the podcast was like, that wasn't too bad, even though it did feel a bit awkward. But then when we were actually like, right, let's post this to our stories.
Yeah.
I was like,
letting people letting people know that this is something that we actually do. Yeah,
because you feel so judged, and also the whole idea of just like like social media makes it so much worse. Is the whole idea of is this cool or not? How would other
Yeah,
people see
yeah,
this? Rather than doing something that you actually enjoy, it's just like, okay, well, if I share this, who out of my friends would think this is good? Who out of my friends would think this is bad? Kind of thing. It's like, oh, is this cool or not? But I think it's just like a playground mindset. You know, in school when like everybody just like say,
everybody's the same.
yeah, everybody just wants to be the same to fit in. So like somebody wears Hollister, then the whole school's wearing Hollister, that
Yeah,
kind of thing.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
everybody just wants to do the same thing to fit in.
yeah,
But then like you're not
yeah.
even being yourself to fit in. Like you're not even making yourself happy just because you want to be cool. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
especially at our age, you need to get out of that school
Mm-hmm.
playground mentality.
When we started the podcast, we knew that it wasn't trendy to
Yeah,
do a self-development podcast.
yeah.
Like I would say we were the only person of our age group
Honestly,
and
yeah.
in our even like area.
Well, actually, I was just going to say, like, through doing the podcast, I realized there is actually more people our age that are into it. They just weren't speaking about it. Whereas
Yeah,
we kind of put it
exactly.
out there, and then we're like, okay, yeah, there's a few other people,
Yeah,
but just going, yeah, you wouldn't even know because nobody speaks about it.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, yeah, social media. But then you look at social media, and people are starting to realize how like there's no real reason to fit in on social media because it's not reality. Like it's very
Yeah,
like you are when you look at social media, you are seeing the highlights or like the
100%.
best bits of someone's life.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
there is so much sort of well, it's not fake because it's happening, but it's not a true teller of their
them.
reality.
Yeah,
So you should never sort of not do something because you think that you're gonna stand out from that crowd because like there's so many different people on social media, there's so many different things going on that you will fit into one group or
yeah,
another.
that's
Like
very
you're not just
true.
going to be a complete outsider, like, and nobody's going to know who you are or nobody's going to follow. There's going to be one person that's like has some sort of similar experience to you,
Yeah,
and
hundred
then
percent.
and then that will help you create like better connections with people because then you'll find people that you're similar to rather than people that like you, I guess you think you're similar to but you're not.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah. And another thing with social media as well is like obviously when you do try something new, you want to try something new. Most people will never do it because if it was to fail, it would obviously be a public failure, which is like, yeah, it is scary. Nobody wants to do it. But then I was watching do you know Reese Wabara?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that,
I know the
yeah,
podcast that you're on about. Yeah,
yeah, the owner of MDV.
yeah, that's it.
He was on the Lewis Morgan podcast,
That's
and he
it.
was kind of saying like talking about overcome the fear of getting started or like public failure, and he put it really well. It's just like people who take the piss haven't even attempted to do what you're trying to do. So
Mm-hmm.
he literally just said like put your money where your mouth is. So if somebody's taking the piss, have they done what you're trying to do? Probably not, because if they had and they had failed, that would have humbled them. They would stay quiet. If they had and they succeeded, they'd be giving you tips.
And yeah, and they would have also experienced the same failure as you, and
Yeah,
they wouldn't like be negative towards you, would they? Because they would have that experience of knowing that failure and knowing the the power or what is required to succeed in that field. So, and also I think when people do hate in general, like when you hear people talking about somebody like behind their back, either in person, like it always comes from, I don't know, don't care what people says, it always comes from a place of insecurity on that
hundred
person's
percent,
part.
100%.
Like there is not a single person that is successful in their field that hates on another person within their field that is also successful.
Yeah,
Like it just doesn't know. Like it is so you see it like do you see Jeff Bezos having a go and hating on all the other CEOs of the big companies for what they've achieved.
Yeah.
When you succeed, like, you're too focused on yourself. You don't really care about what's going on around you.
Yeah,
like you're just so focused in your own lane that your attention doesn't veer off into somebody that's also doing the same thing as you. Like, obviously you congratulate them from time to time just to be like for like motivation and just because you are happy for them. If you're, as you said, if you've never done something like that, they can never have anything to say.
Their opinion's not valid.
Yeah, exactly. It's just
but
not.
Even if you take it down to like a really simple example, say you're trying to get in shape and you start weighing your food so you can track your food, and then I don't know, maybe a family member or your mates are just like, oh, you're not actually somebody who counts calories, so you're not actually somebody who's weighing your food, are you? Trying to make you feel like, oh yeah, what am I doing?
It's a bad thing.
Yeah, like it's a bad thing. But no, the reason they're saying that is because they just don't have the discipline or the effort to make that change. And let's be honest, if you're getting in good shape and they're still fat or just out of shape, then
you should give a fuck.
Yeah, but also they're clearly saying that out of a place of insecurity. They're not happy with the way they look, so they're trying to stop you from getting in shape so they feel better about themselves. Like, that's just how it is.
Yeah, once you creep out of the circle of normality, that's not a bad thing, and people think it is because you have the balls to do that. People think that like, oh, because he's not doing what everybody else is doing or what I'm doing, he's somehow wrong for doing that. It's like it's backwards. It doesn't make any sense, and that's why so much of our society is just like the same now. I think like when somebody does something different, it's always like seen in a negative light.
Yeah,
it's actually weird. A joke. It's weird how it all works.
So weird. I think one last important point as well would be, you've probably heard it as well, like people who say, I've got imposter syndrome, which is basically like you don't feel like you should be in your position because you're trying something new. So again, let's take the podcast. It'd be like, oh, who do we think we are to start a podcast? Or something more recently for me would be like when I started coaching, even though I know I've got the skill, I know I've got the knowledge to do it. As soon as I started coaching, I was just like, oh, well, this doesn't feel right. Like, who am I to think I'm a coach or something?
Yeah.
And it's like the whole imposter syndrome thing. I don't agree with the idea that it's like a syndrome or I have this thing where I can't get over it. It's like, no, it's literally just because you're new.
Yeah.
Like, it's completely normal to feel like that. I don't think anybody would ever start something and just be like, 100%, I should be here. I know what I'm doing. Like, you're always going to feel a bit uncomfortable starting.
Yeah, but obviously the experience that you get through your previous successes helps with that. Like, for example, you with your online coaching, you've been able to develop your physique through what you've learned and the knowledge that you've been able to build. You've developed your physique, which is probably above average for our age group. So when you translate that into your online coaching, you're like, I know that this works because I've done this. And this is what I've achieved from doing it. So that sort of barrier is for your entry in terms of coaching is slightly lower than everybody else because you've got that 4 or 5 years of training experience.
And that's literally what we said right at the beginning, like in terms of overcome the fear, like it's just doing it in experience. Yeah,
all it is.
But a good way to round off this podcast, I think, would just be very simply is you don't want any regrets. So a big reason why I started coaching as well is not just because obviously I love doing it, I'm passionate about it, I like people getting in shape, but most importantly, it would kill me if I look back in like 20, 30 years time and be like, I had the opportunity to start my own business and do it, and I didn't bother because I was too scared of what if it failed kind of thing. Like, or if nobody wanted coaching when I first did it or something like that, and it didn't work out, like that would kill me. I think I couldn't live with that. So you don't ever want regrets.
100%. I think people say that life is short, but I also think like life is short and it's also long at the same time, because it's long because if you choose to, you can do so many different things in life. Like, you are literally limitless. You are boundless into what you can do. Obviously, you've got if you've got like a physical disability, then you're probably bound to certain things. But if you're completely healthy, it's just your brain that is stopping you from doing whatever you want to.
Yeah.
So you technically you can do so many different things. You can be one thing 1 year, you can completely switch it up and do something for another 2 years, and then switch it up and do experiences are in abundance in your life. But also, as you said, it's short, because life, as negative as this sounds, it can be taken away from you in a singular moment.
Yeah, that's true.
And not even just by death, but by an unfortunate circumstance that impairs you from doing something. Yeah. So you've always got to think about, it's your time, and what you do with that time is definitely what's going to dictate how enjoyable your life will be.
100%, mate. I always think about that. Like, if you're the 8-year-old you or something looking back, what would they say?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, if you were to stick with the societal norm and come out of university and do an office job that you didn't like for 40 years, and then retire and be on a beach for 10 years and then die.
Yeah. Or even worse, getting to 45 and just having a heart attack at work.
Like, you never know. Like, we don't wish that upon anybody, but you've also got to think about that in the future. You go, like, there people have died from falling over and banging their head, and they've died. So, like, you've definitely always got to think about how best you're using your time. And then once you realize that, right, I don't have a lot of it, in terms of, you don't have a lot of it, then that should be your burning fire inside you, to be like, right, I've actually got to do something now, and I've got to do a lot of things.
Yeah. So I know it's a little bit of a deep and a little bit dark way to end the podcast.
Hopefully, started off so well. hopefully it's a motivational one.
Yeah.
It's not a deep one. It's a motivational one. Hopefully you've left this podcast and you're actually going to go and make your first step and actually do something.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, I think that was a good podcast. Been through quite a lot there. And yeah, as we said, going forwards, we'll be switching things up a little bit in the next month or so, probably. And Lakota on the weekend. We'll report back on that. That should be good.
Yeah, we will report back on that.
But yeah,
that'll be a good weekend.
That will be a very good weekend. But yeah, apart from that, if you did enjoy today's episode, then please do subscribe or follow us on whatever platform you're listening on. Also subscribe to the YouTube channel as well if you prefer to watch the podcast. And drop us a follow on Instagram. We do have a Instagram page which will be updating soon as well, getting back to posting on that. You can also follow both of us on Instagram as well. All of that will be in the description. But hope you enjoyed today's podcast, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Peace.